All right, folks, we are back with the Malzberg panel, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Co-host of Steele Ungar and senior political contributor for Forbes.com, Rick Ungar, is here, and commentator on religion, society, and pop culture, Rabbi Brad Hirschfield, is here as well. All right, let's start with this report, gentlemen, released today against the advice of the Secretary of State, who I never find myself agreeing with. We had an exclusive with General Michael Hayden at the beginning. He denied so much of what was in this report. Of course, there's going to be another report to follow. The CIA will have its say because the CIA, not one person from the CIA was ever approached to be a part of this report. He called it a trial and verdict rendered in absentia. Let's start with you, Rick. Why release this, and really, who cares?
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's people who do care. The problem is, this is, to me, incredibly complicated. On the one hand, I have friends who are ex-CIA who are really concerned about this. Not that something's going to come out that will get them in trouble, but that some of their friends that are currently serving could literally be killed. And that's something you have to take very seriously. On the other hand, it is endemic to our culture. We review these things. If some things went wrong, people deserve to know. But this is a tough balancing act. I'm going to have to read the report to see how I feel it shakes out.
And Brad, I mean, as Rick alluded to, not only are there some concern for CIA people still in the field, but there's concern for the countries that helped us, and with rendition and et cetera. There's concern for our troops now, and everybody's on higher alert because of Dianne Feinstein.
I think that's right. Look, the issue of torture is complicated. The issue of timing here isn't complicated.
By the way, I
at all.
object to the word torture, but go ahead.
You can call it, but I think we should call it the worst thing anyone wants to call it, and then be clear. The timing is what's completely wrong here. There's nothing complicated about this. There isn't a shred of evidence that exploring this issue now will actually make anyone safer or the United States more accountable, even assuming everything in the report is true. This report was released now for political purposes. And what's troubling should be to everybody, however you feel about enhanced interrogation / torture, is that right now we have senators whose mouths are writing checks their bodies aren't going to have to cash, and that's not right.
Look at that. Another way to look at that, I take your point when you say it's being released for political purposes, but the truth of the matter is, in 3 weeks' time, it wouldn't be able to be released when Republicans take over the Congress. That might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing, but assuming that these senators like Feinstein believe it is critically important that Americans know about this, then it's not really political. It's doing it while they still can.
Well, I think you just proved, Rick, that it is political. Not maybe you want to justify it, but that's the point. If the concern is the Republicans will take over so we can't do it, then they're playing beat the clock. And I'm just really troubled by the idea of playing a game of political beat the clock, especially when we know if you want this to get out later, it can be. This was timed in ways that really, someone needs to prove to me this isn't a debate about torture. It's about timing things to political advantage when other people's lives are at stake. And that strikes me as really dangerous and really wrong.
I take your point, but you can't get around the fact that the report's about what it's about. Steve doesn't like the word torture. I understand that. But if the entire point of the report is to expose where the United States may have broken the law, then I'm afraid it is about torture. And again, I haven't read it yet. It just came out this morning. So I can't tell you what's in it. But from what I'm aware of, this is, in fact, what this report's about, where the U.S. did exceed its legal authority.
Well, according to who? Because John Yoo, John Yoo and others said that the U.S. Everything they did was perfectly within the law.
This is the Senate doing a very long review and apparently came to a different conclusion.
Well, it would have been nice if they talked to the people who participated or who ran the.
By the way, I think they did speak to Mr. Yoo. You're right.
No, not you. I'm talking about they didn't speak to any CIA.
No, I know. I was going to say, I think you're right when you say they didn't speak to CIA. They didn't, but they did speak to people who were crafting the policy within the Bush administration, and the CIA, with the exception of the director, would not have been the one crafting the policy.
No, but that proves even further. The way they did is they went after the people who had a political angle on this, rather than talking to people who actually had to live the policy and implement the policy.
You might have some good points here, but I'm afraid you're overdoing it when you want to make it a political thing, because a CIA agent in the field would not be who you'd go to discuss a policy breach or a legal breach.
All right. We're going to change topic when we come back. John Gruber testified before the House Oversight Committee. We'll talk about that just a little bit. But in my opinion, we did what we had to do to stay safe, and we should thank the people who participated and did it in a terrible time in our history, not because of what we did to those terrorists. We're coming back.